Hi friends, it's Diana here today, and today we're going to be working on the Amber Active Bikini and Tankini pattern. This is a really cute swim pattern. It's got a bikini option with a little ruffle option or just a band. It's got the Tankini option, which is a longer option with also you can add the flounce to it. It's got the bottoms, and the bottoms you can add a little flounce to it if you want to as well, and it's got different kinds of straps. So today we're going to be working on the crossover and straight straps, so the thinner straps. We're going to be adding a flounce to the bikini line, and we're going to be adding a flounce to the bottom lines, to the bottoms, so that we can kind of get a little bit of everything. I am so excited about this. I'm going to be sewing it up in the same fabric that I sewed up a last pattern that I sewed up, the candy swim pattern for myself, but I'm sewing up for my niece. So we're going to be having matching swimsuits, and I'm excited about that. I got this fabric for knitfabric.com. If you're looking for some swim fabric, they have some great options. So yeah, let's get started. All right, I cut out all my pieces. I've got my lining and my outer pieces. I've got my elastics cut out. And we're gonna get started with our bottom. So I'm gonna put my front bodice aside, and I kept them separately because some of the straps look similar to the others, and I wanna make sure that I don't get them mixed up. Like, you know, the straps from the bodice to the band, the waistband, and the bikini bottom line band. So I make sure that I keep them separate so I know what they are, or clip them with their pieces, but I use the projector, so I just want to make sure. You can also use some masking tape and write the name of the pattern piece and then stick it with masking tape on top of the pattern piece. That way you don't get them confused. This is also especially helpful if you're doing working on this project like a little bit at a time. Let's say I'm going to work on a little bit today and a little bit tomorrow, and which is, you know, sometimes that's what happens. I always tend to forget, like, what piece was this? What did I cut? So labeling is always a great thing to do. So to get started, we're going to grab our bottoms. This is my back bottoms. This is my front bottoms, and we're going to sew them at the sides and the crotch area. I'm going to be using my serger for this sew, but you can use any kind of stretch stitch on your sewing machine. If you don't have a serger, I zigzag stitch, lightning bolt stitch, triple stitch. Just remember that you need to use some kind of stretchy stitch, or it, you know, won't have a very good stretch. As you're sewing up the bottom of the bikini, of the bottoms, you will see that it's a little bit curved. So you kind of have to go along with the curve as you're sewing it and just kind of turn it around and sew it right sides together. I'm going to do the same exact thing to the liner. All right, now that we've sewn our bottoms, we're going to turn our liner stay inside out, and our outer, turn it right side out, because we're going to fit our liner into our outer, and we're going to baste the waist and the leg openings. Sewing with swim can be a little bit slippery, so basting will be your best friend. Basting is just doing a long straight stitch on your sewing machine to basically put these two pieces together before we're going to attach the elastic. All right, once we baste that together, we're also going to be working on our waistband. So I want to go ahead and prep it by folding it right sides together and sewing that short raw edge with a stretch stitch. I'm going to go on my serger and sew that up. So this will be a serger, and these will just be basted on. All right, as I mentioned, I'm going to be adding the flounce to the bottoms. So if you don't have flounce for the bottoms, that's okay. You would just skip the flounce step and you would just do the next step as well. So I'm gonna grab my flounce and quarter it by marking the sides, or front and back, because it's, you know, it's a circle. So, and then matching those front and back and going to the side. So now I've got my quarter, so I know exactly where I'm going to put it. Okay, then I'm going to do the same thing for my waistband. I'm gonna fold it in half lengthwise, wrong sides together. I have my seam here in the back. So from the back, I'm gonna go to the front and find what my front half is. Then I'm gonna match up the front and the back, and I'm gonna go to the sides. Okay, and I'm gonna do the same for the bottoms. I've got my sides already, so I'm gonna mark my front and back. Now, since I'm doing the flounce, I'm gonna grab the flounce first, and I'm gonna place it right on those marks. And you can go baste this down first if you want to. Like I said, basting with swim is your best friend because swim can be really, really slippery. So going to your sewing machine and putting in a basting stitch is usually the best way to go. You all know I'm a rebel, so sometimes I don't do it. But with swim, that's one of those things where I'm usually pretty good at doing that because I'm afraid that it's going to mess me up. And I'd rather take my time and do something, do a little extra step than later be like, I can't believe I messed it up. So I'm gonna go to my sewing machine and just use a straight stitch and baste that on. While I'm at my sewing machine, I'm also going to grab my elastics for my legs, and I'm gonna fold them and create a circle on my elastic. So zigzag stitch them together there, because I'm gonna attach this on one of our next steps. So I might as well just go ahead and prep them right now. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and baste that on and zigzag stitch these together, come back and we'll attach the waistband and the leg openings. All right, I am changing my stitch to a zigzag stitch to zigzag stitch these together. I always like to switch my stitch back to my regular stitch after I'm done, just so I don't forget for later. All right, our bottoms are coming along and they're gonna be super cute with this little flouncy effect here. We're gonna grab our waistband and I'm going to match up those points that we created with the points of the suit. And now we're going to sew them together and we're going to stretch lightly the band to fit. So you're just gonna have to stretch a little bit to fit. And we're going to leave a 2-inch gap at the back where we're going to insert our elastic. So we're gonna add that elastic later. So we wanna leave that gap where we're gonna insert that elastic through. So I'm gonna start here, go all the way around, leaving a gap to insert that. And I'm going to go ahead and start attaching our elastic at our legs as well because I like to do everything at the same time. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab my elastic and I'm going to place that seam either at the waist or wherever you want to place that seam at. And then for the front, we're just 1-to-1 ratio on the elastic. So we're just zigzag stitching it on without stretching all the way across on the front until you get to the crotch seam here at the front. And then the back, we're going to stretch to fit so it lays nice and taut around the back. So as we're sewing it on, we're stretching to fit, and I'm going to zigzag stitch that on for both legs. Which means I didn't have to change my stitch on my sewing machine, but that's okay. All right, let's go do all that, and our bottoms will basically be done because all we'll have to do is top stitch the elastic around the leg and that's it. Well, insert the elastic at the waist, close it up, top stitch, but we're almost there. Remember, on the front, we're not stretching. We're just sewing straight. Okay, and this is what that looks like on the inside, and on the outside, you just have a zigzag stitch there on the back, which when we fold this over and top stitch, that zigzag stitch will be on the underneath part. All right, we're almost done with our bottoms and they're looking so cute. Okay, we're gonna grab our elastic and we're going to fit it right through that gap that we left at the back. Okay, make sure your elastic is not twisted here once you fit it through. Sometimes it wants to twist. And then you're going to sew the two ends together of the elastic. So you're going to match them up here and sew them together to create that elastic, and then I'll finish feeding it all the way through. So just make sure they're not twisted as you're going to sew it. And then once I sew it together and fit it all the way through, I'm going to close that gap, serge that gap closed. Now for the legs, we're going to grab the leg and we're going to just flip that elastic towards the inside. And then we're going to top stitch it, just like we're hemming the bottom of our legs. You can do that with a zigzag stitch, triple stitch. I'm going to actually do it on my cover stitch because I really do love the way that it looks. But if you look at swimwear, they do have zigzag stitch on there. So a zigzag stitch looks just fine on there as well. So I'm going to, when I do the back though, because it's tighter, when I'm sewing it on, I'm stretching it to fit. So I'm stretching it to make it smooth and top stitching it. Now let's go do all that and we'll be done with our bottoms and we'll move on to our top. All right, so on the front, it just looks like a regular double needle, and on the back, it just encases that seam allowance there. Gotta cut all these threads. All right, our bottoms are done and they look so incredibly cute. Okay, that's so exciting. I love it when you're like done with part of your sew and you can tell like, this is gonna be so cute. All right, let's put those aside. And then we're gonna, the one thing I keep looking at though is like, these are supposed to be for my niece, my little niece. Why are they so big? She's growing up way too fast. Kids grow up way too fast. Anyway, we're gonna get started. I have all my pieces here. First thing I'm gonna do is work on my straps. And I have 4 straps. We're gonna do the same thing to all 4. We're gonna fold them in half, right sides together and create the strap. So we're gonna sew them at that raw edge and then we're gonna flip them over to create the strap. All right. While I'm at it, I'm also going to go ahead and grab my bodice front and back, and I'm going to place the back and the front right sides together and sew the outer seam for my liner and for my outer. All right, I've got my bodices put together and my straps. Now we're going to turn the straps right side out. Now, if you want more stability to your straps, you can use some elastic, some swim elastic, and fit it right through the strap. So you would just cut it the same length, and then you would just fit it right inside the strap. All right, now you got to decide if you want these straps to be attached up with option 1 or option 2. Option 1, they will get encased into the liner and outer. So you're going to sew them in there. Make sure the elastic is not gone all the way inside when you go to attach it, because you want to catch the elastic when you're sewing it. Anyway, option 1, you are going to trap the straps into the lining and outer. Option 2, you're going to baste the straps in the back once you're done constructing the top. I'm going to do option 1 because I don't have my niece with me anyway, so it doesn't, I'm just going to go with the length that it is and hope that it all fits correctly. So we're going to start with the crossover strap, which are the longer ones. They go on the inside. So I'm going to place it right on top because they're going to get sandwiched between the liner and the outer. And then the shorter one is the one that goes straight and it's going to go right next to it. So they're going to go like right next to each other. And if you want to go ahead and baste those on, that's what you should do. Go to your sewing machine, use a straight stitch, and baste those on so they don't move on you when you go to sew them. So I'm just gonna head over there and do it just really quickly and then come back and continue. All right, so here's my bodice, and what I'm going to do is, as you can see here, is attach to the right side. I've got my 2 straps. My longer strap is my crossover strap. So if you're doing the white straps, you would just come right over and you're gonna sew it to the right side of the, bodice right here, okay? But since I'm doing the crossover straps, I'm just gonna turn this over so it'll make it easier. And we're gonna grab our first strap, it's gonna go over to the other side. The shorter strap, the longer strap, the inner strap is the one that crosses over. And then the longer strap comes over, and that's the one that goes right next to it. So we can pin that together. And then again, come over, the other strap comes over and to the inside, and then the shorter strap, the straight strap, comes right here to the other side. And we can go ahead and baste those together for now. But if you don't want to baste it together, if you don't want to put it on yet, you can sew the liner like the next step we're going to do and then come back. So I'm going to flip this over so that when you are done sewing, this is what the straps are going to look like. See how they cross over here, straight in the back, they cross over, the inner crossover, and the other one goes straight. All right, so I'm gonna also go ahead real quickly and baste those on right here and then come back and add the lining. All right, so now that's been basted, and I'm gonna turn my suit right side out and flip my straps around the bottom so they're kind of out of the way when I'm going to sew the lining. As you can see, this is the outer edge and this is the outer edge of the straps. So they're kind of out of the way. I'm gonna grab my lining inside out, I'm sorry. And I'm gonna sew it on. Method 1 and 2, the straps at the top get caught. Method 1, the straps in the back get caught. Method 2, the straps in the back will just be hanging loose because we're gonna attach them at the end. So I'm doing method 1 where I'm attaching the straps at the same time. So I'm just going to sew around here. Now, if you're using a serger and you're not confident that you won't catch those straps, you can go ahead and do this area here at the straps with a sewing machine and just sew it so you get a closer fit here. I'm just gonna go in my serger and do it all because that's how I am. As you can see here in the back, I am actually catching those straps here because I'm doing the method where I catch the straps with the bodice. Now, I am going to go ahead and attach some elastic, swim elastic here around the neckline. You can do it now or you can do it later. The reason why it's suggested to do later, if you want to do it later, is because if for some reason the strap is too loose, then adding the swim elastic now is going to make it harder to loosen up or whatever. But I'm going to be shipping mine out to my little niece, so I won't be able to try it on anyways. So I'm going to go ahead and add these elastic all the way around the neckline. So as I'm sewing, as I'm serging, I'm going to be encasing this elastic in all the way around as well. So I'm just kind of fitting the elastic here and keeping it just a tiny bit taut as I go around stitching this down. All right, so now we're gonna turn this right side out. Make sure when you're sewing that you tack on those straps really nicely. So if you have to go back and do a zigzag stitch over the straps, you do that. I had done the basting stitch really well, so I didn't think that there was a need to go back and go over them again. But if you feel like there's a need and you want to go back over them, definitely go back over them and make sure that they're nice and tight. So there it is. My bodice straps are on. It's looking so cute. Okay, so here at the bottom, we're going to make sure that we baste the liner and outer together because, as I mentioned earlier, swim fabric can be a little finicky. So when I'm attaching the flounce and everything else, I want to make sure that it's not going to come loose on me and, you know, make a mockery out of me trying to sew it up, as he has done so many times in the past. Okay, so as I'm basting that, I'm also going to grab my flounce. If you're not doing the flounce, you skip this step obviously, but I'm going to grab my flounce and I'm going to sew up those 2 side seams. Now the flounce is not meant to be hemmed, it's meant to be a raw edge. So if you're using a serger here, you'll have to tuck in that tail at the end, which is what I plan to do. What I'm going to do is I'll just fold that tail over the seam allowance and then just zigzag stitch it down. And then we're going to grab our band and we're going to fold it right sides together and sew that raw edge as well, because we're going to prep it, because we're going to do the same thing that we did to the waist to the waist at the bottoms, where we're going to attach the flounce to the bodice and then the band, but the band is going to be on the inside of the flounce this time. With the bottoms, it's on the outside of the flounce. So you can see right here, it's like on the outside. On this one is going to be on the inside. So it's just going to be a little bit different, but basically the same method. So we're going to do all that. Baste, sew. All right, so I've got my bodice here. It's all basted. I'm going to match up the side seams and go to the front and the back to mark my front and back. Okay. And then I've got my flounce here and I've got also my side seams. So I'm going to mark the front and back. And while we're over here quartering, I'm going to do the same thing for my band. I'm going to fold it wrong sides together. And from the back seam, go to the front, then match the front and back and go to the sides. Okay, now, one more time. When I attach the flounce, well, first of all, the flounce is gonna be attached right sides together to the bodice. And if you want to, you can go ahead and place the flounce first and then the band right on top and go sew them together, because that's what we're going to ultimately do. But again, swim can be super slippery. So what I'm going to do first, which goes against all my better judgment, you all know I don't like basting. But with swim, that's a whole different thing. I'm going to go ahead and baste this flounce on first, right sides touching. Then I'm going to come back and put our waistband in and then our elastic and we'll be done. I'm so excited. It's going to be so cute. All right, now that this has been basted on, we're gonna grab our waistband and I'm gonna find my back here. I'm gonna place it to the back, okay? And then I'm going to stretch to fit our bodice and leaving a gap, again, like we did with our bottoms, so that we can insert that elastic after and then top stitch it closed and we'll be done. Because this is going to be on the inside, see? And now the flounce will be outside and this band will be on the inside. Now, if you're not doing a flounce, obviously you'll just have the band and no flounce. All right, now we're encasing the elastic through. All right, make sure the elastic didn't get turned. And we're going to top stitch it close and then close that gap. All right, we are done with this cute little set. Oh my word, it is adorable. How cute is this? So there is the little tank and there is the little skirt. I am obsessed. I think it is so adorable. I can't wait for my niece to get it. I think she's gonna love it. I love the little crossover straps in the back. It is so cute, and the little flounce. I love it. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Please comment, like, share, subscribe if you haven't so you never miss any of our other tutorials. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you all next time.